I think every child have a moment that changes them. As I look back, I didn't even realize that was mine. So I remember in episode 1, I told you guys how my mom worked a lot, so I was at my grandma's house a lot. And I'm not gonna lie, I just love being there because like I wasn't alone. Like me and my cousin, like we grew up together. Like we were like a year apart, basically. And it wasn't only her. It was like my grandmother had like 5 grandkids. Like growing up, it was a lot of us. So it was we used to have mad fun. Like we all grew up together. Like you feel me? Like this. When I was about 8 or 9, I remember my grandmother married this man named Michael. He would drink a lot. He was from Honduras. I remember they would argue literally all the time. When I say all the time, all the time. Like, but overall, I thought he was a cool guy at first. My grandma had bought me a PlayStation. Like we would play games together, and he would let me use his phone. And I don't know why at a young age I was already like fiending for phones, but look at this generation now. Like I guess that like nothing changed, just a different day. He came around and helped out a lot in the family. I'm not gonna lie. Like he had the car. He would drive us around. We would go to buffets. We would do a lot of things because he had a car. Like I remember going fishing. I remember doing things like City Island. Just riding around with him and my grandmother. It was cool. It was fun. I remember one Friday night, my grandma was turning up, by herself, and me and Michael was playing the game in the room. And after a while, my grandma had came in the room, and I guess she fell asleep because she was tired from dance. Like if my grandmother, she's always dancing, turning up. Like alhamdulillah, she's still moving. She's still moving to this day. But she came in the room. She went to sleep. Everything was normal at first. We were still playing the game. Then after a while, I felt Michael put his hands in my shirt. At that age, I was like, 9 years old. I was already like developing. Like, he put his hands on my chest. And I remember just feeling like I know that's wrong. Like, but I was such in shock. I just, like lay down like next to my grandmother and pretending like I was asleep. Like, because I thought that would make things better. But fortunately, all he did was pick me up and took me to the back room. And he literally like just was rubbing on me so uncomfortably. And the only thing I was to do was to pretend I was asleep because I'm a kid. I don't know what to do. I'm scared. All I know is that this is wrong. That's all I know. That is wrong. So all I did that night was just, like pretend I was asleep. When I woke up the next day, I felt different. Like life was happening in front of me, but life wasn't happening in my head. Like everything just felt different. My cousin had took me to one of her programs because I don't know if you guys remember Zoom. They came to Harlem, and we had went. And while that was happening, like, yeah, I was playing, but I still felt off. Like, but as kids, like I said, we just take what life give us. When I went back home to my grandmother's house, I just, like, I couldn't look at her. Like, I kept walking past the kitchen to the point that she had called me and asked me, like, what's wrong? I said nothing because I was scared. Like, I didn't want to break up their marriage. And, I was a kid. I didn't know what else to do. I wasn't taught what was wrong and what was right, if I was being honest. All I know is that it was happening to me and I felt like I knew it was wrong. Eventually, when I went home to my house with my mom, I told Alexis and Essence because we were always together. So I told them, and they told their mom, and their mom told my mom, and my mom had called my grandmother. It's crazy how when I finally had the courage to say something, I wasn't believed. But you would think that would stop him once it was in the air. But if anything, that was just the beginning. Because then he started grooming me. He started buying me things. He knew I was a fan of Selena, and I love Selena. Like, if you know, you know. I don't care if I ain't know a word she was saying. I knew Selena. I remember him buying me a shirt and a CD. I guess that was his way of trying to keep me quiet. I remember one night my grandma had went out to the club and I was left alone with him, and he came up to me and literally said, "Who you gonna tell now?" So I had to deal with that literally every other weekend I was around. When he told me, "Who you gonna tell now?" I felt undefeated because who was I gonna tell? It was really nothing I can do, you know? Like, but just deal with what I was dealing with. And as time went by, things started getting extreme. Like, he started showing me his private part and telling me, like, I'm just trying to prepare you for the world. There were times when I used to go to bed with a knife, but I never had the courage to use it. I had no choice but to just accept what was happening. I didn't even say anything anymore. So eventually, I just stopped going over there for a while. I guess my grandmother thing was she thought I was acting like that or saying those things because he wouldn't give me his phone. Like, that was what she said. Like, oh, you sure that I'm not acting like that? Cause he didn't give me your phone. He didn't give me his phone. But why would a kid ever lie about something like that? Like, but it's all love. I guess it all happened like in the shop, and it was hard for people to believe because he would use his phone and he would use the things he would buy us. Like, eventually they eventually I just stopped going over there. Like I started being with my mom more to avoid dealing with that anymore. And I guess they had to figure things out. Eventually, my grandmother called saying that she believed because my cousins had came, like 2 or 3 of my cousins had came out saying that he did the same thing to them, like touching them. So that's when everybody started believing that I wasn't lying. So I guess after I remember my grandma coming to get me, and we went to file a police report. I was a kid, like looking at different like guys to see who he is. And come to find out, this guy has different names. Like, this guy literally has different names. So after we had to go to the hospital, and they had to like I was like they had to open me to see if he ever penetrated me. As a kid, it was such a horrible thing. Like, it was such a horrible feeling to have to go through that, like, and not understand. Still, all I know is that I was violated. Like, I remember being in the DA office and trying to explain my story, but by that time I was already muted. Like, I could barely get the story out, but I said what I could remember. As I reflect, I'm noticing how much that kid lost their childhood. They weren't able to, experience what it felt like to actually be a child and enjoy life. And at the same time, I still, as a kid, is not understanding how to process anything that happened to me. I'm just taking what life handed me. After that, you would think it was all over. But the fact that I was at my mom's house a lot, I was at my mom, a babysitter that was next door, which her daughter became my best friend. But she had sons and nephews that was a little older than me, and I guess they was a little more exposed than me at that point. And so they would force me or talk me into doing things that I genuinely ain't want to do. After a while, I just started accepting like this is what life is. Like, at this point, like I didn't know nothing else. Like, I just started feeling like this is part of life. Like, I was just accepting pain from whomever, wherever. And that didn't make it no better, because as I went outside in the projects, boys used to try to violate me. They made rumors about me, like so I just started accepting like this is my fate. you know At the end of the day, at this point, I'm like 10, 11, and still not understanding, but just accepting. Looking back, I'm noticing I wasn't even becoming stronger. I was becoming more numb, more quiet. I was literally learning how to survive before I learned how to be a kid.